Welcome back everyone. So today we have our class about the gyri, sulci and overall the features of the cerebral lobes. You might think that all these gyri and sulci have a very unique pattern, brain to brain and side to side, and you're not very wrong. But in all those differences, or let's just say morphological differences, there lies a coherence and uniformity in the pattern. The way the gyri and sulci present and let's say exist is pretty much uniform across the human population except for a few examples, and I would really like you guys to go and Google about Einstein's brain before you get started in this one, or maybe at the end of it. So let's begin. The cerebral hemispheres are separated by a deep median cleft called as the great longitudinal fissure. It contains a crescent shaped fold of dura mater or the falx cerebri. You know about that, you've done this. Each cerebral hemisphere may be considered to have a superolateral, medial and inferior basal surfaces or aspect. मैं आपको ये बताना चाहती हूँ कि अगर along the medial longitudinal fissure हम यहाँ इसे dissect करें, जैसे मैं आपको पहले भी बता चुकी हूँ, तो इसके नीचे है corpus callosum और corpus callosum को dissect करते ही दोनों halves अलग अलग हो जाएंगे. ठीक है, तो उन individual halves का ये जो एक्सटर्नल सरफेस है इसे कंबाइंड सुपीरियर लेटरल सरफेस कहा जाता है. हम बात कर रहे हैं सिर्फ सेरिब्रम की, हालांकि इस डायग्राम में आपको सेरिबेलम और ब्रेन स्टेम भी दिखाई दे रहा है, उसे भूल जाओ थोड़ी देर के लिए. सो सुपीरियर लेटरल सरफेस ऑफ सेरिब्रम, ओके, medial surface of cerebrum, and this is the inferior surface or the basal surface of the cerebrum. Inferior surface is divided into two parts. Anteriorly, this is the orbital part, and posteriorly it is called as the tentorial part. In my last lecture I told you that midbrain is the region which traverses the tentorium cerebelli. और अगर आपको skull याद हो जो आपको head and neck tutorials में बताया गया था, you must remember the petrous part of the temporal bone, किस तरह से there was a central petral ridge along which the two wings of tentorium cerebelli were attached and there was an opening in between. So all of this stays above the tentorium cerebelli and it's a part of middle cranial fossa. This one is lodged in the anterior cranial fossa. एक बात और याद रखिएगा that cranial fossae are a feature of the basal portion of the cerebrum when looked from inside. So first of all, do not think that नीचे middle cranial fossa है क्या ऊपर भी middle cranial fossa है. Fossae is a feature of the floor. So that's what I want to tell you about the location of the posterior cranial fossa. Posterior cranial fossa houses these structures which are below the tentorium. So cerebellum and the brainstem, they will be housed in the posterior cranial fossa. So the tentorial part lies in the middle cranial fossa. Makes sense now. Posteriorly it lies above the tentorium cerebelli which separates it from the superior surface of the cerebellum. Okay, we know that. So just remember this one. This is great longitudinal fissure or the medial longitudinal fissure as you would call it. आगे एक sulcus का नाम आएगा जिसका नाम central sulcus है, and I have always seen people confuse these two things, like people who do not read well. वो इसे ही central sulcus बोलते रहते हैं. So ये central sulcus नहीं है. This is the medial longitudinal fissure. So each hemisphere consists of an external highly convoluted cortex. So this entire gray matter that is visible to us is cortex, beneath which lies an extensive internal mass of white matter which will be definitely the dendrites and the axons which reach here or start from here obviously, that partly enclose the basal ganglia. Now basal ganglia is a collection of some more cell bodies, so around which the white fibers will descend down to reach the particular destination. Each hemisphere also contains a lateral ventricle that is continuous with the third ventricle through its interventricular foramen. I hope you know this one by now. The two hemispheres are linked by the commissural fibers of the corpus callosum. Commissural fiber नाम देख के घबराना नहीं है, जो भी white matter fibers एक साइड ऑफ द सेरिब्रम को दूसरी साइड से कनेक्ट करते हैं उन्हें कमिश्रल फाइबर कहा जाता है. सो कॉर्पस कैलोसम, द ग्रेट ब्रिज बिटवीन द टू सेरिब्रल हाफ्स, इज नथिंग बट अ कलेक्शन ऑफ कमिश्रल फाइबर्स. I have put this diagram here, this picture here, I've sourced it from internet obviously. You can see the comparison of human brain, elephant brain, dolphin brain, gorilla, cat and lower animals. One thing that you definitely know is we have more gyri and sulci, more surface area fitted into a smaller space, but you would probably feel that elephants and dolphins have even larger number of gyri and sulci. So is having a really large brain for a really large body actually a useful thing? Does it make elephant more intelligent than us or less intelligent than us? I would like you to find about this. Anyways, so now I've told you about surfaces, let's move ahead. Before we move ahead, so just a simple definition of sulcus and gyrus. As you can see, this is the folding of the grey matter which is a collection of the cell bodies and the neuroglia, okay. So a sulcus is a depression or a fissure and a gyrus is a ridge of the cerebral cortex. So as it is folding, some will be the upturns, some will be the downturns. So these are the sulci and these are the gyri. The area of the adult cerebral cortex is approximately 2200 centimeters square. Its convoluted form increases the cortical volume to 3 times greater than it would have been if the surfaces were smooth. So sulci are very important. And here you can see this is a coronal section. So here you can see how the folding enhances greater amount of area to be fit within the given space. And these are the small collections of the grey matter are the basal ganglia. This is the white matter, the fibers going downwards. This is obviously the grey matter and these are the subcortical grey matter collections. So before I tell you about lobes of the brain, we would have a brief, let's say, twist with sulci and related gyri. The very obvious, very observable sulci would be discussed first. Then we will move ahead and discuss it lobe by lobe. So it's a lot of volume to take in a one go, but there is no need to take it all in a one go. Just read, pause, go back, look into your books, Google your stuff about it, and then come back and watch it again. The more you practice, the more you will know. You cannot do it in a single night. If you have that kind of an expectation from yourself, you really need to go and rewatch some other practice and practice again kind of video. Anyways, let's move ahead. So first of all, what are the type of the sulci that we have? Some sulci are called as the limiting sulci because they separate two functional areas from each other. An example would be the central sulcus. You will know it when it comes. There can be some axial sulci. They are along the axis of the growth of that particular area of the brain. Or they can be operculated sulci. Operculum means a curtain. So it's like a curtain and it holds another area under it. Or on the basis of the formation, they can be primary or the secondary sulci. Primary are the ones which are formed before birth. Secondary sulci are formed after birth. And on the basis of depth, now this very point is very important because there is a sulcus which is complete and it is always asked which sulcus is that. So it can be a complete or an incomplete sulcus. Complete sulcus is so very deep that it even leads to an elevation in the walls of a ventricle. Let's move behind. Yeah, so you have seen this diagram. This is the zone of the lateral ventricles. You can see that these sulci, even though they are dipping down, they are not causing an indentation up to the level of the ventricles. The ventricles pretty much have a very uniform diameter, undisturbed by any other sulci reaching up till this point. If a sulcus or an in-depth manages to cause an indentation inside the ventricle, then it is called a complete sulcus. There are not too many examples, but yeah, collateral and calcarine sulci will be the ones. So we'll reach them, then we'll know. And incomplete sulci are obviously which are superficially situated. They are not very deep. They are not going to cause an indentation into the ventricle. So most of them are incomplete in that sense. So first of all, I think this will be the most obvious sulcus that there can be. The lateral sulcus. It is almost as obvious as the longitudinal median fissure is. So this one, you know that it's going to separate the frontal and the parietal lobes from the temporal lobe. So this is the lateral sulcus. It is a very deep cleft on the lateral and the inferior surfaces. Some authors do even say that the term sulcus is not very applicable. It is almost like a fissure, and it is also even called the Sylvian fissure. But it's only a fissure in its initial parts. As it extends backwards, it becomes a sulcus. Anyways, so it's going to separate the frontal and the parietal lobes above from the temporal lobe below, and it accommodates middle cerebral vessel. I have taught you that one before. Now, for all the sulci and the gyri, you should try to know the endpoints. That would always help you in identification and obviously in the explanation. It starts inferiorly at the anterior perforated substance. You might not know what is this, but this will be covered in other classes, or you can just look for its definition. And then it extends laterally. This laterally might not be appreciable in a 2D diagram, but when you hold the brain, the anterior perforated substance is quite near the midline compared to the actual extent of the lateral surfaces of the temporal lobe. So, it extends backward and laterally between the orbital surfaces of the frontal lobe. You have seen the orbital surface, it is towards the basal side, and anterior pole of the temporal lobe. So, this is the orbital surface of the frontal lobe, this is the anterior pole of the temporal lobe, and this is where it's going to proceed backwards. So, you can see this. So, a Sylvian fissure, let me tell you here, a Sylvian fissure or the lateral sulcus is divided into the following parts. These extensions are called as rami, and then rest of the Sylvian fissure is also called a rami. Let's just see what their names are. So, these are see, the Sylvian fissure in the lateral sulcus has anterior horizontal ramus. You can understand that. Anterior ascending ramus, the one which projects upwards, and rest of the Sylvian fissure is called as posterior horizontal ramus only. And at the end, you can have posterior ascending and posterior descending ramus. So, that is what you need to take care of. That this most of the part of the Sylvian fissure which is visible and appreciable is actually the posterior ramus or the posterior horizontal ramus of the Sylvian fissure. So, this is ascending horizontal, this is the anterior horizontal, and this is the anterior ascending ramus, and this is the posterior horizontal ramus, which again divides into two parts. If you remember this coronal section that I have shown you before, then you can now understand that this area corresponds to the lateral fissure or the Sylvian fissure. You can obviously see that it is not going to extend up to the level of the ventricles. So, it is definitely not a complete fissure, and I would like you to appreciate this fold. So, all this cortical area from the frontal lobe is turning towards inside, let us just say that for the sake of simplicity, and then it is folding like this and then emerging onto the front again. So, this area is hidden from any external view, and this becomes a very interesting finding once you remove the two lips of, let us just say, the grey matter near the Sylvian fissure, and you see more grey matter underneath. So, this is called as the insula, and we will discuss it later. But just remember that as you move the two lips of the lateral fissure apart, you discover more grey matter under it. This one. Look at this diagram very carefully. This is a very good diagram, and I would like you to pause it and appreciate all the labelings and the markings here. So, this is the this is thalamus, obviously you can see and appreciate it here. This is the part which was hidden from the outside view, the insula, and you should appreciate how the grey matter is folding and gyri and sulci are forming. Next, this would probably the most important sulcus that you should definitely be able to identify. First of all, neuroanatomy and the demonstration of brain and the various parts of the brain are very important. I mean, neuroanatomy is not a chapter, it is a whole subject as far as your examinations are concerned. You cannot escape this very particular organ tray in your final vivas. So, This is the central sulcus, and it is so very important because it is one of those sulci which separate one functional area from the other. You should always be able to locate it because it is a very, very consistent sulcus, very identifiable, and obviously for its functional importance. It is the boundary between the frontal and the parietal lobes and demarcates the primary motor and somatosensory areas of the cortex. This is very, very important to know. It is located in the precentral and the postcentral gyri. So between the, obviously the gyri have been named as per the sulcus. So if this is the central sulcus, then you have a precentral gyrus and a postcentral gyrus. Now the endpoints. It starts in or near the superomedial border of the hemisphere, a little behind the midpoint between the frontal and the occipital poles. ये आपको समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि अगर आप फ्रंटल पोल और ऑक्सीपिटल पोल के मिड पॉइंट से थोड़ा पीछे की ओर मुड़ें, तब आप एक सल्कस एनकाउंटर करेंगे जो बहुत लॉन्ग है, कंसिस्टेंट है, ऑलमोस्ट लेटरल फिशर के लेवल तक पहुंच रहा है, उससे जस्ट ऊपर स्टॉप करता है और इसकी थोड़ी सी इंडेंटेशन मीडियल सरफेस की तरफ भी है. कोई और सल्कस ऐसा नहीं देखेगा, सिर्फ एक सल्कस होगा जो ये सारे के सारे क्राइटेरिया एक साथ फुलफिल करेगा. ऑलमोस्ट सेंट्रल लोकेशन, सच डेप्थ एंड लेंथ, और लेट्स जस्ट से undisturbed length. Another thing I want to point out here, things may not be as straight as these diagrams might show you. These are very, very perfect diagrams. हो सकता है वो थोड़ा और convoluted हो, but you have to understand that it will be uninterrupted. So uninterruptedly it will reach a lower point and upper point on the medial side. So it will be very, very identifiable. So this will be your central sulcus. It runs sinusly downwards, यानी कि sinusoidal course लेते हुए forwards, downwards and forwards to end a little above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus से घबराना नहीं है इसे सुन के, it is just the lateral sulcus. जिसे हम normally lateral sulcus कहे जा रहे हैं, it is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So this will be the central sulcus. Now you can see here. So एक sulcus जो sinusoidally, यहाँ पर obviously आप middle side नहीं देख सकते, but it has started there, now it is coming downwards, ending just above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. This will be the central sulcus. Central sulcus के आगे का gray matter will present almost an uninterrupted gyrus. This will be the precentral gyrus. और उसके पीछे उसी तरह का यहाँ आप देख सकते हैं. See, that is how interruptions look like. This is the post central gyrus. अब आपको एक चीज और समझने की जरूरत होगी, आगे आपकी फंक्शनल एरियाज ऑफ ब्रेन की क्लास होने वाली है. So as far as the presence of the neurons dedicated to a specific purpose is concerned, they exist in forms of areas. They just don't exist like this gyrus or that gyrus, although territories of those areas more or less correspond to the gyri that we can see, but what you have to understand is that sulci और gyri दोनों में ही cell bodies तो हैं ही. So finally it comes to that territory, that area. So this is the precentral gyrus, this is the postcentral gyrus. आप प्लीज अलग अलग ब्रेन स्पेसिमेंस की इमेजेस गूगल करके देखिए और उनमें इन सब गायराए और सल्काए को जितना हो सके पहचानने की कोशिश कीजिए. दैट इज द ओनली वे दैट वी कैन यूटिलाइज दिस टाइम एंड अपॉर्चुनिटी विद अस. सो दिस इज द बाउंड्री बिटवीन द फ्रंटल लोब एंटीरियरली and the parietal lobe posteriorly. Lobes के discussion में मैं अभी नहीं जाऊंगी because obviously you need to know some sulci and gyri before the lobes are explained to you. So central sulcus, precentral gyrus और postcentral gyrus हमने देखा. यहाँ देखिए ये है median longitudinal fissure. अब कितने ही सल्काए मुझे दिख रहे हैं जो लंबे हैं, डीप हैं, मीडियल सरफेस तक भी जा रहे हैं और साथ के साथ नीचे पहुंच रहे हैं सिल्वियन फिशर तक भी. इस मार्किंग को भूल जाइए, इसकी बात नहीं हो रही यहाँ पे. बट या लुक एट दिस सल्कस, यहाँ से एक इंडेंटेशन मीडियल सरफेस पे भी दे रहा है और नीचे की ओर अनइंटरप्टेड जाता जा रहा है, जाता जा रहा है, जाता जा रहा है, जाता जा रहा है, अप टू द वेरी end of the diagram that I'm able to see. So this would be your, yes, central sulcus. But what about central sulcus on the other side? This indentation is not leading me anywhere. This indentation is not leading me anywhere. I'm not like, जिस तरह का एक sulcus मुझे इस तरफ दिखाई दे रहा है, sorry, जिस तरह का एक sulcus मुझे इस तरफ दिखाई दे रहा है, शायद दूसरी तरफ नहीं दिखाई दे रहा. And these differences from the right to the left side do occur. So your best bet is observe a specimen. At least एक side पे you will be able to see the central sulcus very properly or something very close to that appearance, and then you should be able to almost guess it on the other side. But this very remarkably is central sulcus location. Moving forward. So yeah, this is the central sulcus again. This is the median longitudinal fissure यहाँ पर. So आप देख सकते हैं ये मिडल साइड से ऑलमोस्ट शुरू हुआ ही है और वहाँ से आते 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 this is where it's going to end. So there is nothing really like it. So deep, so long, and then having a post-central gyrus and a pre-central gyrus kind of an appearance. This is the central sulcus. And obviously, pre-central gyrus के आगे you have the pre-central sulcus. So, central sulcus is represented by this red line. So, it is very freestanding, just anterior to the ascending cingulate. Cingulate gyrus आपको बाद में बताऊंगी मैं, cingulate sulcus की बाद में बताऊंगी. So, post-central sulcus. Post-central sulcus will be posterior to the central sulcus. So, post-central gyrus के पीछे post-central sulcus दिखाई देगा. It is often in two parts, superior and inferior, and it intersects with intraparietal sulcus. Intraparietal sulcus will be discussed ahead, and marks the posterior end of the post-central gyrus. So, this one is the post-central sulcus. And then you have the pre-central sulcus. It is often also in two parts, and it intersects the superior frontal sulcus. It might meet in between and marks the anterior end of the pre-central gyrus. So, central sulcus, post-central sulcus and pre-central sulcus. यहाँ आप इस डायग्राम को फिर देखिए, ये है सेंट्रल सल्कस, ये है प्री सेंट्रल सल्कस और ये है पोस्ट सेंट्रल सल्कस. डायग्राम टू डायग्राम आप देखेंगे कि बहुत कम सल्काएं हैं जो कि सेंट्रल सल्कस की तरह कंसिस्टेंटली अनइंटरप्टेड हैं. यहाँ का आप प्री सेंट्रल सल्कस भी देख सकते हैं कि ये बीच में इंटरप्टेड है. सो अगेन वॉच एज मेनी पिक्चर्स एज यू कैन. और ये फ्रंटल लोब इज द रीजन विच इज अहेड ऑफ दिस सेंट्रल सल्कस. एंड व्हाट डू यू सी हियर? There is something called as superior frontal gyrus. So in the frontal area, first of all, you should be able to see two very major sulci, superior frontal sulcus and inferior frontal sulcus, and they divide the frontal lobe into superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus and inferior frontal gyrus. So superior frontal gyrus is above the superior frontal sulcus and it is continuous over the superomedial margin. This is obviously the superomedial margin of the superolateral surface of cerebrum. So yeah, and on the medial side, I mean it is the same gyrus that you will see on the medial side when you see the medial surface of the brain. It may be incompletely divided. At times it can have a vertical sulcus present here which might divide into anterior and the posterior part. Now this is the middle frontal gyrus. It lies between the two sulci, and this is the inferior frontal gyrus. It lies below the inferior frontal sulcus and above the lateral cerebral fissure or the lateral sylvian fissure. Now, as I told you, in the sylvian fissure, there were two rami, so they relate to this area. There was an anterior horizontal ramus and anterior ascending ramus. These two rami divide the inferior frontal gyrus into three parts: pars orbitalis, pars triangularis, pars opercularis. Pars का मतलब part, orbitalis क्योंकि ये orbital zone के ऊपर है, triangularis because of the shape, opercularis. Operculum means curtain. I just told you what is it curtain for? It is curtain for insular lobe, which is hidden behind the two lips around the lateral sylvian fissure. So this is pars opercularis, and that is why it has this name. Now, why these particular fissures are taught to you so specifically, औरों की भी तो इतनी सारी branches थी, it's because in the left hemisphere, in the cortical areas around these rami in the inferior frontal gyrus, they make up the motor speech area. It is called as Broca's area, and in your lecture about the functional areas, this area will be taught to you in great detail. So first of all, it is only on one side, and second, it is located in this area. Then you come to another very obvious sulcus. It is called as the cingulate sulcus. So when you see the medial side of brain, so corpus callosum will be very easily identifiable. Uske upar you will have something called as the cingulate gyrus. This grey matter will be called as the cingulate gyrus, and cingulate gyrus ke upar, so let's just say outwards to the cingulate gyrus will be the cingulate sulcus. So as you can see, starting from this lower area in front of the paraolfactory area, it is going to turn anteriorly, then superiorly, and then it turns posteriorly, encircling this whole zone and ending almost at the level where the central sulcus is going to divide this part into frontal and the parietal lobe. So it starts below the rostrum. Anything which is rostral is what is closer to the nose, and rostrum in this case is a particular area which will be discussed later, and it first passes forward and then up and then finally backwards, conforming to the callosal curvature. It means curvature of the corpus callosum. Its posterior end turns up to the superior medial margin of the hemisphere. It means towards the upper border, approximately 4 cm behind its midpoint. This is the midpoint of the superior medial margin. It's going to extend beyond that and is posterior to the upper end of the central sulcus. Central sulcus आपको यहाँ end होते हुए दिख रहा है. This whole zone is called as the paracentral lobule. It was the representation of the area around the central sulcus on the medial side. So this is the cingulate sulcus where it's going to end. Now, this very prominent fourth running sulcus divides this anterior region of the medial hemisphere into an outer and an inner zone. The outer zone, except for its posterior extremity, ये आप देख रहे हैं बिल्कुल posterior extremity, is a part of the frontal lobe. जहाँ मैंने आपको superior frontal gyrus के बारे में बताया था, it is just its medial side. So the outer zone, except for its posterior extremity, is a part of the frontal lobe and is subdivided into anterior and posterior areas by a short sulcus which ascends from the cingulate sulcus above the midpoint of the corpus callosum. This is the small sulcus that we are talking about. So the large anterior area is the medial frontal gyrus. Medial frontal gyrus is nothing to be confused about. It's just the medial side of the superior frontal gyrus. And the superior end of the central sulcus and behind this small gyrus is the zone called as the paracentral lobule. This is very important. So from this single ramus of the cingulate sulcus, this whole zone is divided into two parts. First is superior frontal gyrus ka medial part, and posterior to it is paracentral lobule. Paracentral lobule is the area of the cortex around the central sulcus, and since the central sulcus is going to divide our cerebrum into frontal and the parietal lobes, so this paracentral lobule constitutes the areas of both frontal lobe and the parietal lobe. So the superior end of the sulcus usually invades the paracentral lobule posteriorly. So this is the cingulate sulcus extending into the territory of parietal lobe as well. Now the zone under the cingulate sulcus is the cingulate gyrus. You can see the cingulate gyrus here. Starting from below the rostrum, the gyrus also follows the callosal curve separated by the callosal sulcus. So this here would be the callosal sulcus, and this is where it's going to follow the whole curve created by the corpus callosum. It continues round the splenium, this is the splenium, to the inferior surface and then into the parahippocampal gyrus through a narrow isthmus. This is a very complicated part. This whole zone of cingulate gyrus, this being the isthmus, this being the parahippocampal gyrus, is an area which is associated with emotions and memory and higher brain functions. It will be dealt with later in this lecture and also in a series of lectures ahead. This part is difficult to understand. So this is a part of limbic system. But just at this stage, you only have to know the pictorial representation and names of the areas. So this is cingulate gyrus. Behind the splenium, this posterior part of the corpus callosum is the splenium. This is where it's going to take a turn. This is the isthmus, and then you're going to reach very important area of parahippocampal and hippocampal gyri. Most of the part visible to you is parahippocampal gyrus. Hippocampal gyrus is medial to that and is visible on slight manipulation of the area only. So we'll just deal with it later. Before we move ahead, some other very obvious sulci, the parieto-occipital and the calcarine sulcus. ये आपको याद होगा, ये सिंगुलेट सल्कस था मीडियल साइड पे. उसके पीछे ये पैरासेंट्रल लोब्यूलर एरिया, उसके पीछे एक और बहुत ही प्रोमिनेंट सल्कस है. इट इज कॉल्ड एज द parieto-occipital sulcus. As the name suggests, it is going to divide the area between the parietal lobe and the occipital lobe. So parieto-occipital sulcus. ये भी एक बहुत डीप फीचर है और एक नॉच के से आपको शुरू होता हुआ दिखेगा. और एक और आपको बहुत प्रोमिनेंट सल्कस दिखेगा, उसका नाम है calcarine sulcus. These will be very very appreciable on the medial surface. And these two deep sulci converge anteriorly to meet a little posterior to the splenium. So calcarine sulcus and parieto-occipital sulcus, they will meet anteriorly. This zone, you know that this is corpus callosum and this part is called as the splenium. जहाँ हमने थोड़ी देर पहले सिंगुलेट गायरस के खत्म होने की बात की थी, isthmus यानी कि ब्रिज के शुरू होने की बात की थी, वहीं पर these two are also going to meet each other. The parieto-occipital sulcus marks the boundary between the parietal and the occipital lobes. It starts on the superior medial margin of the hemisphere, approximately 5 cm anterior to the occipital pole, sloping downwards and slightly forward to the calcarine sulcus. This is where you can see this. The calcarine sulcus starts near the occipital pole. यहाँ आप इसे देख सकते हैं. Though it is usually restricted to the medial surface only, its posterior end may reach the lateral surface. कहने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि यहाँ से ये पार्ट टर्न करके आपको superior lateral surface पे भी दिख सकता है. So next, both of them will join and move ahead towards the isthmus. Continuing forwards, the calcarine sulcus crosses the inferior medial margin of the hemisphere, understandable, and forms the inferior boundary of the isthmus, which connects the cingulate with the parahippocampal gyrus. यहाँ ये parahippocampal gyrus है, hippocampal gyrus लिखा है इसने बार बार. The visual cortex lies above and below the posterior part of calcarine sulcus, behind the junction with parieto-occipital. यानी कि इस जोन की बात हो रही है. So posterior part of the calcarine feature would be this, and this is the zone of visual cortex. Now calcarine sulcus is very deep and it produces an elevation into the lateral ventricle. आपको पता होगा कि यहाँ पर lateral ventricle is the central cavity, so obviously its posterior pole will reach this area, and on taking a coronal section we are able to see this is the calcarine sulcus on the medial side. It is producing so much indentation that the gray matter almost reaches here. This is where it's going to cause an indentation in the occipital horn of the lateral ventricle. So this is a complete sulcus. Gray matter, gray matter, gray, 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 almost indenting here, gray, 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 gray. So this elevation is called as the calcar avus. It is in the wall of the posterior horn of the lateral ventricle. So I have defined this to you above and I will be discussed in great detail later. So this is another lobe. So your concept of lobes is going to change a bit in our discussion ahead. So this limbic lobe is going to constitute parts like subcallosal gyrus, obviously under the corpus callosum. then the cingulate gyrus, proceeding behind isthmus. And since यहाँ पर अभी brainstem अलग नहीं हुआ तो आपको इसके आगे के parts नहीं दिख रहे, अगर brainstem भी remove कर दें, so this was the cingulate gyrus, this was the isthmus, and this is the parahippocampal gyrus, and its anterior most ending, which sort of hooks towards inside, is called as uncus. So these parts will be discussed again and again, so I want you to look at them and remember the names. Precuneus and cuneus. So आपने यहाँ पर पेराइटो ऑक्सीपिटल फिशर भी देख लिया, आपने यहाँ पर कैल्कराइन सर्कस भी देख लिया. सो इस तरह से ये एरियाज आपस में डिवाइड हो जाएंगे. सो दिस इज पार्स मार्जिनालिस ऑफ द सिंगुलेट सल्कस. दिस इज वेयर द सिंगुलेट सल्कस इज गोइंग टू एंड. So between the cingulate sulcus and the parieto-occipital fissure, this middle area is called as the precuneus, and between parieto-occipital fissure and the calcarine sulcus, this area is called as the cuneus. So the area posterior to the upturned end of the cingulate sulcus and anterior to the parieto-occipital sulcus is the precuneus. It forms a medial surface of the parietal lobe with the part of the paracentral lobule. यहाँ पर paracentral lobule ये था, ये सब मिलके parietal lobe बना रहे हैं. The medial surface of the occipital lobe is formed by the cuneus, and a wedge of cortex, it is the wedge of cortex bound in front by the parieto-occipital sulcus and below by the calcarine sulcus, and above by the superior middle margin of the cerebrum, obviously. Moving forward, orbital surface की ओर आते हैं. You might be wondering कि मैंने बहुत सारा parietal surface तो छोड़ ही दिया. मैंने वो छोड़ा नहीं है, पर parietal lobe, temporal lobe, उन्हें हम लोब्स की डिस्कशन के साथ देखेंगे. अभी हम उन गायरा रेक्टाई को देख रहे हैं जो बहुत ऑब्वियसली दिख जाएंगे, आपको समझ आ जाएंगे, प्लस विल हेल्प यू फर्दर इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग हाउ द लोब्स आर देयर. सो ऑन द इंफीरियर सरफेस यू मस्ट हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड, आपको बार बार ऑल्फैक्टरी बल्ब दिखाया जाता है, ऑल्फैक्टरी बल्ब एंड ऑल्फैक्टरी ट्रैक्ट. सो जहां आपको उसकी लोकेशन दिख रही है, इट रन्स इन समथिंग कॉल्ड एज द ऑल्फैक्टरी सल्कस. Medial to it is the gyrus rectus. Rectus means straight, so this is gyrus rectus. Lateral to it, you will see this H-shaped orbital sulci. Obviously, it will not be as H or as simple, but yeah, roughly an H. And it divides this area into medial orbital gyrus, anterior orbital gyrus, posterior orbital gyrus, and lateral orbital gyrus. So, on the orbital part of the basal surface, a rostrocaudal olfactory sulcus traverses it in the medial margin, overlapped by the olfactory bulb and tract. The medial strip thus demarked is the gyrus rectus. The rest of the surface bears irregular orbital sulci, this sulci they are talking about, generally H-shaped, which divide it into the anterior, middle, posterior and lateral orbital gyri. So, here you are able to identify this. This is olfactory sulcus. Olfactory means related to the sense of smell, olfaction. This is the gyrus rectus, and this is that roughly H-shaped orbital sulci. So, medial, anterior, posterior, lateral. So, this is the orbital part. You should be able to identify it. Next very important sulcus is collateral sulcus. Collateral sulcus starts near the occipital pole. This is the occipital pole. Extends anteriorly and parallel to the calcarine sulcus. ये calcarine sulcus था, इसके साथ almost parallel. It starts like that and moves forward. इन दोनों के बीच में ये जो area है इसे कहा जाता है lingual gyrus. So that is how it's going to move forward, and this lingual gyrus is between the calcarine and the collateral sulci. And next it moves forward, passes into the parahippocampal gyrus, which begins at the isthmus. This zone was called an isthmus. It was the bridge between the cingulate gyrus above and the parahippocampal gyrus below. And collateral fissure or the collateral sulcus is traveling on the temporal lobe. This is where you are going to see this. So, it is a very long and very appreciable fissure, and it is continuous with the cingulate gyrus. They were talking about the parahippocampal gyrus, which is continuous with the cingulate gyrus through this bridge of isthmus, and below this you are going to see the collateral fissure. So this view of the brain where you can see some of the medial surface and some of the inferior surface, you can see near the occipital pole, the collateral sulcus is going to begin and it is going to run forward, and here you can appreciate this is the parahippocampal gyrus. So parahippocampal gyrus, lingual gyrus, isthmus, cingulate gyrus, cuneus, precuneus, paracentral lobule area, superior frontal gyrus area. Here you can see the olfactory sulcus. This is the gyrus recti. This is the H-shaped orbital gyri. So medial orbital area, anterior orbital gyri, posterior orbital gyri, and lateral orbital gyri. So look at them again and again, and you should be able to make the structure out of random diagrams. So here, see it again, identify the structures. So now let me help you again. So this is the, I think you should be able to remember the name. This is the parieto-occipital sulcus. This is the cingulate sulcus, both of them joining each other, moving ahead. This was the cingulate gyrus extending behind and below the splenium, extending forward as a thin strip of the isthmus. This is the parahippocampal gyrus. See, you can see the parahippocampal gyrus. तो parahippocampal gyrus दो चीजों के बाद शुरू होता है, एक तो narrow isthmus के बाद और दूसरा लिंगुअल गायरस के बाद. लिंगुअल गायरस कहाँ है? कोलैटरल सल्कस और सिंगुलेट सल्कस के बीच में. सो ये जोन है लिंगुअल गायरस का, एक्सटेंडिंग फॉरवर्ड एंड मीटिंग द पैराहिपोकैम्पल गायरस. These are functionally two very different areas, so you cannot just say that parahippocampal gyrus is just an extension of lingual gyrus, but visually it might appear so. Not in all the brains, but at some brains it can. So parahippocampal gyrus moving forward and then showing us this hook-like turn called as the uncus. What you have to remember is that uncus is not the anterior pole of the temporal lobe. Temporal lobe का anterior pole ये रहा. This is just a hook-like turning which is present behind the the anterior pole of the temporal lobe. So दोनों चीजें अलग-अलग हैं. So confuse नहीं होना इनमें. Another diagram. So this is the corpus callosum. You can see it is so white. And this is the cingulate gyrus moving forward. This is the cingulate isthmus, which you are not able to see as clean as it was here, because obviously you can see some meninges, some blood vessels. This is the choroid plexus and formation of the choroid plexus as it enters inside. So this area is looking messy, but there is definitely gray matter under it. So this is the isthmus. This is the lingual gyrus. This is the parahippocampal gyrus, this is the temporal pole, and this is the parahippocampal gyrus moving ahead, bending towards inside, forming this uncus. So again, this is the cuneus, this is the precuneus, parieto-occipital sulcus या fissure, calcarine sulcus, and this is the collateral sulcus. Obviously, this area is confusing, so please look at multiple pictures. So anteriorly, the parahippocampal gyrus continues into a hook-shaped uncus, as I just told you, which lies lateral to the midbrain, understandable, and posterior lateral to the anterior perforated substance. Anterior perforated substance is location में आपको मिलेगा. The uncus is the part of the piriform cortex. Piriform cortex will be explained to you later on, of the olfactory system, and it is phylogenetically one of the oldest parts of the cortex. This whole meaning of this sentence will be taught to you in the class of histology of cerebrum. So be very attentive there. And is separated from the temporal pole. This is the temporal pole by the rhinal sulcus or the fissure, which marks the lateral limit of the entorhinal cortex. ये क्या हुआ? See, if you see, this is the uncus and this is the anterior part of the temporal lobe. They are separated from each other through this thin strip, through this thin sulcus, which is called as the rhinal sulcus. Why? Because this area is called as the entorhinal cortex. Why so? It will be explained to you in the later slide. But one thing I want to tell you here, आपको बुक्स में बहुत जगह देखने को मिलेगा, उन्होंने लिखा होगा सिंगुलेट गायरस और सेम किन्हीं जगहों पे लिखा होगा सिंगुलेट कॉर्टेक्स. दोनों चीजों को समझने की कोशिश कीजिएगा. सिंगुलेट गायरस इज दिस ग्रॉस एनाटॉमिकल विजुअल थिंग. आपको जो ये ग्रे मैटर दिख रहा है, इट इज सिंगुलेट गायरस. ये पूरा का पूरा ही सिंगुलेट गायरस है. बट व्हेन दे विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट सिंगुलेट कॉर्टेक्स, they means the multiple layers of neuron in that area, their functional correlations and their functional significance. So this cingulate gyrus, just hypothetically speaking, can have अ जोनेशन थ्रूआउट इट्स रीजन. हो सकता है कि एंटीरियर पार्ट ऑफ द सिंगुलेट गायरस, मिडिल पार्ट ऑफ द सिंगुलेट गायरस, पोस्टीरियर पार्ट ऑफ द सिंगुलेट गायरस फंक्शनली अलग अलग हैं, उनके न्यूरॉन्स, कंसिस्टेंट न्यूरॉन्स अलग अलग तरह के हैं. Yes, I think you should be able to entertain this possibility. That is why, functionally speaking, this whole area becomes cingulate cortex. So, gyrus cortex, आप कह सकते हो एक ही चीज के दो अलग अलग नाम हैं, बट यस वो एक ही चीज के दो बहुत अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. गायरस इज दिस विजुअल परसेप्टेबल थिंग, but cortex is something which is very histological, very physiological, and has these unseen boundaries between them. So उसी तरह से entorhinal cortex भी एक एरिया है. Rhinal again should point towards the sense of smell. So entorhinal cortex will be discussed later. So cortex और gyrus देख के confuse नहीं होना है, ये एक ही चीज के दो अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट्स की डिस्कशन हो रही है. So here you can see this is the parahippocampal gyrus. This is the anterior pole of the temporal lobe. So where you can see this is the parahippocampal gyrus extending forward, and there is this turn which is going to form the uncus, and this is the anterior pole of the temporal lobe. So इनके बीच में ये जो slight indentation है which separates the two, it's called as the rhinal sulcus. So again observe this diagram and then be able to identify the multiple things. Now again look at this. This is parieto-occipital sulcus, this is the calcarine sulcus, both of them joining each other, moving forwards. Makes sense till here. This is the cingulate gyrus, obviously you know that, and it extends posteriorly, and then this gray matter sort of thins down into an isthmus and joins this area of parahippocampal gyrus. Parahippocampal gyrus शुरू कहाँ से हुआ? यहाँ पीछे देखिए, कैल्कराइन सल्कस और कोलैटरल सल्कस के बीच में ये एरिया था लिंगुलर गायरस का. यहाँ आप देख सकते हैं कि इस तरह से पैराहिपोकैम्पल गायरस उसके बाद शुरू हो रहा है. पैराहिपोकैम्पल गायरस एक्सटेंडिंग फॉरवर्ड्स turns onto itself and forms this uncus, and this is the rhinal sulcus between the anterior pole of the temporal lobe and the uncus as it turns inward. आप यहाँ देखिए और इस डायग्राम को आगे चल के याद रखिएगा. Right now you cannot see hippocampus. Just remember this one. Visually आपको यहाँ तक सिर्फ parahippocamпal gyrus तक ही ये zone दिखाई दे रहा है in a simple sagittal section with brainstem removed, obviously. Entorhinal cortex की बात आई थी. So this region is the entorhinal cortex. I'll discuss it in more detail later on, but just to tell you that this region of uncus, anterior part of the parahippocampal gyrus, when being discussed as cortex, this region is called as the entorhinal cortex. So occipitotemporal sulcus. This was the collateral sulcus. This is the occipitotemporal sulcus. So on the inferior surface it is lateral to the collateral sulcus. So it is parallel and lateral to the collateral sulcus and does not usually reach the occipital pole. This is the occipital pole behind, and it is frequently divided. The medial occipitotemporal gyrus extends from the occipital to the temporal pole and is limited medially by the collateral sulcus. You can see this there. Rhinal sulcus वो आपको बाद में मैं बताऊंगी, and laterally by the occipitotemporal sulcus. यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं. The lateral occipitotemporal gyrus is continuous throughout the inferior lateral margin. So what you have to remember is collateral sulcus से lateral आपको मिलेगा occipitotemporal sulcus और उसकी दोनों तरफ पे occipitotemporal gyra है. So this is what you can see in the inferior surface. Please take some time to appreciate the diagram.